Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Unending patience. You're still alive. I have a plus already. Someone's watching me. Who's watching me? I'm over here on my thing. Is this working? Just got a Y. How come I don't have lives on my... There's Z. There we go. All right. Jared! Yes! I think I froze because I was actually off of the app. I'm on my phone. I was on the app for off of the app for a second because I was sharing it out to the other social media stuff. Glad you came to this one. I'm glad that everything kind of lined up just right because guess who's the winner? I need for you to send me. In fact, I'll also type it up. Give me a second before we get started. I'll just go ahead and do this part. That's not where that is. So, yep. Oh, what do we got? You get all of it. Even I'll even pay the. I'm paying the shipping and all that. So don't even worry about any of that. Come on now. Not XOM, COM. Would help if I aimed right. Woodtruck at oldwaystraining.com. Send me an email. I will need I think that's it. Do name and mailing address. Just to here we go. Last one. There. Z. As expected, there were hiccups because you should expect life to get in the way or to try to get in the way. But this is Z from Bushcraft A to Z. Not very many people have gone through that. No, it's not. Although very related. Very, very, very related, actually. We'll just get into it then. Z is zip it. So humans, to give some context, humans have been living in nature since humans were humans and before humans were humans. So to think that there's something deep in us that recognizes the homeness quality of natural environments just makes sense. Okay. What we often do in modern environments, in modern ways, is it's what we're used to, right? So we're used to an ADHD life with so much being thrown at us left and right. It just doesn't even, it makes sense that we've got so many people, kids and adults with ADD and ADHD, myself included. It makes sense that we have these here because never in our evolutionary life has the human species been bombarded with so many different things at any given point in And it takes an eon for genetics to catch up with anything. Um, so that's important. That's important to keep in mind. It makes sense that we have so many people, so many kids that just can't seem to focus because there's so many things pinging them. And what we often do is when we go into the wilderness, we bring that pinging quality because that's what feels natural to us. So I should make a distinction. There is what is natural and what feels natural. What feels natural is just simply our own, uh, our personal history baseline. That's what feels natural. Excellent. Thank you, sir. I'll check it as soon as I get an opportunity, and I'll be able to send it out possibly before Wednesday or on Wednesday. Hopefully, without a doubt, before the week comes back. Um, we have what we feel is natural. That's the base. That's our personal history understanding of baseline. I'll give you an example. Um, if we are used to being timid, right? If we're used to being timid, then anytime we assert ourselves with confidence, it will feel to us as being arrogant. We'll feel like we're being arrogant. We're not being arrogant. We're just being confident. But our baseline will tell us the lie that is, oh, we're just being arrogant. We need to shut down a little bit more. And that's a problem. That's a problem in society by so many people being timid and or even, and that's just an example. There's so many different ways. The opposite is also an example where if you're used to being confident, then timidness or humility might feel oppressive. Okay. So anyway, our baseline is not a good measuring stick as far as what is real and what is good. We've got to understand what is natural. So when we go from our city dwelling self, even if it's a small town, we go from our city dwelling self and we take ourselves into the woods and we bring with us our boombox, our speakers, and our music, and we do it with 10 people, and it becomes a social engagement, which isn't bad in and of itself, but it becomes a social engagement, and it becomes something that isn't nature-based, nature-focused. When we do that, we lose so much. We lose so much of what we could enjoy. And this is kind of the basis of the Japanese concept of forced bathing. Relatively new concept. It was back in the 1970s, I think 70s and 80s, where this doctor started prescribing. It was a new thing. No one had done it. But this Japanese doctor over in Japan started prescribing time in nature. And I think one of his things was spend time in nature, 20 minutes. One of his common prescriptions was spend 20 minutes in nature. And if you can't find the time, spend an hour. Which is a fun little thing. But the idea, the concept here is zip it. So not saying be a monk with a quiet dedication, but go in nature to experience nature. When you enter nature, understands things that are not expressed. Like we as humans, we have to express things in order for another person to actually get the message sometimes. But nature is one of those things that they see and feel, um, the intentions of people, the I don't know, intentions, kind of like the baseline attitude, perhaps. Nature knows more of you than you do after years of study, and they know you in seconds. Uh, and it's one of those things where, like, say, I'll go to one of the things we do is we go to Disney as a family, and one of the things that happens all the time, I'm sure it happens a lot because it's Disney, and there's not really a whole lot of natural predators there. I get that, but um, if a squirrel goes up to anybody, he'll go up to me. If ducks or geese go up to anybody, they'll go up to me. Like, it's a weird thing. My family has noticed. They call me Sleeping Beauty, and I says, no. But anyway, the it's funny. Uh, they understand that my predisposition is one of friendship. My baseline want is to bring nature in, right? And when you have that baseline want, nature nature comes in. They accept the invitations, but you have to come to nature with that idea and mindset. And I thought about different places to put this within the A to Z system. You know, zip, it just means be quiet. It could be bravo. It could be B. Quiet could be Q. Um, Silence, S. It could have been so many different ways you could say these words, but I chose zip it on purpose because um, anyone that goes through this A to Z thing, uh, they will be rewarded by a great and wonderful message, because this is one of those that you really can't. It's an amazing message. Um, if you get this one thing wrong, then you will go in. Then you will forever go into the woods with the wrong, in the wrong way. Um, if you get this thing right, then you can go into the city and be in the right way. It's one of those weird, most powerful things. Um, there's a book, guy that I followed for a while, Tom Brown Jr., his novels and his field guides. He has field guides as well that teach you about Native American wilderness survival. And in one of his books, it's either the tracker or the one after that, which is the something, not the tracker, but the something. He likes small titles. But it's he came across he was the basic story is that he's an apprentice to a Native American who, modern day apprentice, so modern day I say in the 1900 or late 1900s. In the but He was an apprentice to this Native American called Stalking Wolf. He called him grandfather. He was a Lippin Apache Native American Indian who had spent his life going to, like, under the radar, going into reservations and learning the old ways from these old people, from all of the difference. Like, his whole life was about that. Um, he passed in the Lippin Apache tribe. He passed the scout skills, so he became a scout, which was quite venerable, like a like uh, that would be the equivalent of a U.S. Navy SEAL uh, selection testing. Um, but he also passed, which is weirdest thing, he also passed the shaman testing. Um, and this all came from a vision he had that he was supposed to go through these things, and so he passed that as well. So he got strong, solid physical skills, and then strong, solid spiritual skills. And then he spent his life. This is the guy called grandfather, Stalking Wolf, he spent his life going to these reservations, absorbing more of like, how does this tribe do it? How does this tribe do it? How does this tribe do it? And then he, in his 70s, he came across this little boy, Tom Brown, and taught him and his spiritual brother um, everything he knew for like a 10 years period. And then, of course, that's the beginning of the Tom Brown Jr. school, the tracker school. But getting that's backstory to this one thing. So grandfather took Tom to this area of the woods where there had been a fire, and the he's in the deep thicket, and all of a sudden it opens up and it's just char. This forest fire had decimated this area, and Tom, your life, if you're life oriented, then you see death easy, right? So Tom came through this opening and like his heart dropped. He saw all of this charred remains. He started to smell the char smell. He saw that the earth was charred and wet because the wilderness firefighters had responded and they doused the flames. This is all after the fact. It wasn't an active fire. So it was wet and it was muddy and it was charred and it was just ugly and crazy. It just wasn't the best. Give a minute, pause for the calls. Sister-in-law gave me this cup. I love this cup. It's amazing. It's got a little thing on the front, little stone thing. Stone cup, wood handle, ceramic. Love it. Okay. Grandfather asked Tom, said, "What do you see?" And he described the things that I had already described. Just like char and all this death and decimation. And then grandfather got Tom by the shoulder and guided into this one location and said, "Look down. Look. What do you see at this patch?" And he started to see life popping up. There's like a little seedling already popping up. And then he started looking. Wait a minute. What's this? He looked over here. Looked. There's more and more stuff, life popping up. These dormant seeds who are waiting for the opportunity to pop up and start anew. Saw the opportunity, knew, that's what it's actually scientifically proven now. The phenols, I think, that are released when a tree is on fire, a live tree is on fire, actually are attached to receptors of heirloom seeds of the same plant, and it actually gives them indications that, okay, it's time. It's a weird thing. There's a communication process that goes along with it. It's really cool. But anyway, you're used to the things that you're used to until you get used to new things. And so he was used to all this life and only seeing the world in two different ways, life versus death, and not really seeing the process of life. I love it. Yeah. A lot of people fear the destruction, but I tell you what, sometimes you got to stand in the ashes of who you once were. Sometimes. This journey from A to Z has been one of those for me. Figuring everything out. In fact, I think it was Echo. I actually had to record that one and put that on the playlist because technical difficulties, and so I had to learn from that. And I'm learning from a lot of other things life got in the way a few times, and that helps me to learn how to figure out how to make life not get in the way perhaps next time. Patience becomes unnecessary when your default is one of learning. Sometimes patience becomes unnecessary when your default is just learning how to get better. And so if you understand that that's what you're in that process of learning how to get better, then you're actually not having to exercise patience, because you swap over. You swap over. It's called code switching. I call it loading a new algorithm. So if you know enough about computers, you know an algorithm is if this then that. So if this happens, then you do that, and it's a what you people know as the situation, and oftentimes it's the social situation. Then they change their behavior pattern, right? There's a moderation to it? Question mark. Chris, I don't know what you're talking about. Give me some context. Um, so when, gosh, what were they doing? Okay, code switching and algorithm. So an algorithm is like, if you remember back in your high school days, and you acted different when you were with your friends versus when you were at home, right? The fact that your behavior changed is called code switch or an algorithm upload. So um, what you do is, if you're trying something, if you're doing something, like if I'm doing the Bushcraft A to Z, right? So if I'm doing this and all of a sudden things go wrong, I don't have to exercise patience, because when things go wrong, I swap over to the algorithm that is, I'm learning from this experience, what can I get from it? And then all of a sudden, I'm not having to be patient. I'm still working on this with the same goal. I'm still working with the same goal. No. Um, as far as excessive patience, um, that is not. I put my foot under my butt because my foot is cold. In case you wanted to know. Um, the skill of patience um, is a skill like anything else. And as such, the exertion of that skill, the use of that skill makes one tired. Okay. So it's a good idea to exert that skill to get better at the idea of patience and perseverance and being this guy that just doesn't quit, right? You have to build that. So it's not a bad thing. Like there's no such thing as moderation to patience. There's a reason in life to have the quality of impatience. Excuse me. Let's make that clear. There are times in life where being impatient is useful, purposeful. Sometimes if I'm not learning something as fast as I want to, I become impatient with it. And that agitation, that aggravation is actually something that puts the fire under me to actually get something done. So it's an acronym, fear. We get things done through fear. So focus, emotion, FEAR, agitation, repetition. Focus, emotion, agitation, repetition. You focus on what needs to change. You create an emotion behind the change, whether it is a push emotion or a pull emotion. So a pull emotion is inspirational. You're being pulled towards it. The push emotion is the agitation that pushes you at the same time something is pulling you. And so it moves you into it. And the repetition is just keep doing it. So we um, we grow by fear. I love the paradoxical nature of it. Um, so there's a reason for impatience. To sometimes it's important to sit in the agitation a moment so that it can build and then skyrocket you to where you need to go. Um, However, never work without efficiency. Okay, so uh, when you want to be efficient, then you work with the. This has turned into a freaking kunit. Um, uh, Efficient patience is figuring out a way to not need patience that much. Doesn't mean it's bad to do it. Doesn't mean that we're trying to get towards a moderation of everything. So, because the whole idea is moderation in everything, including moderation. So sometimes you got to not be moderate. Um, but oh gosh, I saw a thing recently that would be a really good, cool thing to know and understand. I think it was Plato, not Socrates, Plato, who had said that when a society stops venerating positive qualities, I think I'm paraphrasing now. When a society stops venerating positive qualities, it is preparing for its own collapse. So, in ninjutsu and the Woodland Warrior Protector Program within the Old Ways training curriculum, we venerate uh, the ability to keep going. And oftentimes it shows up from the whole idea of patience. It shows up in the idea of uh, hunkering down and just powering through, right? Which is an earth mentality. Is this whole idea of I'm just going to not let things bother me, and I'm going to continue continue uh, moving on towards my goal. That's the one way to do it. There's a way to do it strategically, where you figure out the best path. Kind of like how a river finds the best, the easiest path down the mountain. There's another way that is very intensive, and so a lot of people will do is if they've got a goal and they need to reach a goal, a working goal, and they can do that like in an isolated manner. What they'll do is in the city they live in the city they live, they'll get a hotel room, go drive around the city, come back to the hotel room, and then go up into the room, into this new environment, and then intensely work on the problem. Right. Um, and by the time the end of that experience, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, and then order food in, like don't even leave the room. Um, However long this intensity thing takes in order to get the goal set, it's set, and then you can leave and go about your life with this new goal having been accomplished. And then another one is where your networking abilities and your ability to pull strings from certain places, all of a sudden you say, you know what, it'd be a good idea for this thing to happen. All of a sudden it happens. It's a weird kind of thing when you're connected with the right people in the right ways, then you can do something. It's all goal accomplishment. So patience works on all of them, but um, it's a good place to start, and it's a good quality to have. Patience, the ability to keep going, to be stubborn, to be stubborn in a good way. And if you think about it, oftentimes in our society, we've only seen stubbornness in a from a negative context, right? You're so stubborn means you're not changing your mind when someone else wants you to change your mind. That's what it comes from. But um, what if it comes from the context of, man, we weren't getting very much done, and the deadline's tomorrow, but you pulled an all nighter, and all of a sudden it's tomorrow today, and you got it done. It's like really cool. That's pretty stubborn of you. Same concept, right? Can be used in that way because the definition hadn't changed, but yet you accomplished your goals. I think that's a pretty cool thing. Um, so anyway, we touched on quite a few different things. We kind of went off on this huge tangent, but the gist of it, the idea of it, is that when you come to nature, be a visitor. Don't think that you're going to nature and nature's the visitor. Nature's at home. We're going to them. So act like a visitor and be quiet, be kind, be gentle. Make be respectful, right? And then when you do that, you zip. It's easier to zip the internal dialogue too. When you begin to approach nature that way, when you begin to go approach your camping experiences from a respectful place, when you go there, all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but like when you go there, it changes. You allow it to affect you. And one of the cool things that I've discovered is that when you do that, you bring more and more in. Then when you leave that place and you go back into your regular world, it stays with you for a minute, maybe a day, maybe two, but it has lasting effects on you. There's this 3-day rule that science has figured out that if you stay in the woods, and it's specifically about the nature, if you stay in the woods for 3 days long, minimum of 3 days, 3 days, 3 nights, right? 3 24-hour periods, one in one go. You can go past that, but at least 3. It changes your mindset. It changes your synapse change. The brain, the pathways that the brain uses to think change, and you get a really, really, really good peaceful mentality. So one of the um, tests of a someone in the old ways training curriculum, one of the higher tests is to get all of this knowledge and skills of woodsmanship and bushcraft and all this survival and all, and take them into the woods by yourself. Now, do the right thing. Have a piece of paper and tell everyone you know where you're going, what you intend on doing, how when you intend to come back, and provide them with maps of your location. Just let everyone know where you are, and that you'll be gone for 3 days, at the minimum of 3 days. And so one of the things is this test. You get all your experiences and knowledge, and you go out into the woods and you spend 3 days there. Pack in your gear, pack in your food if that's what you want to do, pack in your water, and or my other foot's called. Pack in your water, or pack in your water purification system, whatever system you use. Go to a place that, pick your location as being remote enough to not hear cars. You might see a plane. That's fine. That happens all the time anyway. But without cars or trains or anything like that. And then go into the woods and stay there for 3 days and come back out. And you come back out with a notebook full of notes. It can be a small notebook, but a notebook full of notes, and the pass fail of the test is what's in the notebook. And it's by yourself. I have encouraged many people in the bushcraft community because I've had to encourage them because they have had this experience of going out and trying this solo thing and not making it the night. One of them not making one night by themselves. They can't stand it. They're not comfortable with themselves. Grown men can't stand one night alone in the woods. And that is a travesty. So, oh, come on now. There we go. Zip it. Stay quiet in nature. This is our last one of our series of Bushcraft A to Z. Our winner, Jared, will be getting, buddy, you'll be getting one of these, of course. It's Dollar Tree, it's easy. But this exact same thing. So you'll notice, so if you notice, check it out. There's a little rip there, a rip on the sides, a rip there. You're not getting another one. You're getting this one. Okay? Because it's the package. You'll throw it away anyway. It's what's inside that matters. It's what's inside that matters. If they can't stand one night by themselves, they would go nuts just spending 10 seconds in front of a mirror by themselves. That's the point. Dude, that's what happens. Because they're faced with themselves. I mean, we can go all philosophical if you want, but that's exactly what happens. And just like anything else, it's a skill. Everything is a skill. Start applying that to everything. If you're not good at something, or you get aggravated at something, probably usually because we're not good at it. But if something aggravates you, that's a skill that that you would benefit from learning. Everywhere in your life, there is a personal skill that you could grow and get better at, where this time next year, your new self wouldn't recognize your old self. That's important. But anyway, life is a skill, and this is one of those skills: the ability to stay by yourself. And if you really put it together, think about this. If you really put it together, it's one of the first steps on learning how to meditate. Staying by yourself. Now, you're still doing stuff. You're setting up camp, right? You're preparing food, but you're preparing food when you're hungry, not because you're bored. That's another thing. Preparing food when you're hungry, because you're only going to pack in the stuff that you're going to eat. You're not going to pack in excess food. So you'll have to ration, right? You meal plan it, right? But in between food, I mean, it's a survival situation, kind of. You've got lots of tools that you could use to help you with this survival situation, but 2, 3, maybe 3 meals in a day, like, and that may take all of hour and a half, 2 hours. If you go slow at it, there's 24 hours in a day, 8 hours of sleep. What are you going to do the rest of the time? You get to look at yourself in the mirror. It's a start. It's a start to meditation. To really, to not doing what I would call what would I call it? I had a word, but it didn't make sense the moment I thought of it a second time. Think of things more than once, because when you do, you get to not have it come out your mouth and go, it sounded better in my head. Um, there, I guess it can be attributed to that. There's something I call the finger pointing at the moon syndrome. So, old Bruce Lee movie, I think it was Enter the Dragon. I think it was Enter the Dragon. Anyway, he's in the very first part of the movie. He's with this little kid and he's testing the kid, right? And then at some point he says, "It was enlightenment. Enlightenment is like a finger pointing towards the moon." And the kid's looking at the finger and he goes, "Whack! If you focus on the finger, you lose all of the glorious beauty of the all the moon's glory." And so the syndrome is finger pointing at them. You're focusing on the wrong thing. So a lot of people in martial arts, in meditation practices, they're focusing on the mechanics of it to the exclusion of the reason for it. And which is one reason why I don't teach ki shouts like the ha. I don't do the hiya hiya. I don't do that kind of a thing. The dragon. I don't teach it from that point of view. Ki absolutely exist. I've had my heart skip a beat from across the room when it wasn't aimed at me happen. So it absolutely exists, but in the same vein of in ninjutsu, when we learn to do a technique right, to do a technique right, to do a technique right, and keep that little momentum going, then when we have to do it fast, because we train slow, when we have to go fast, it automatically works. So I don't want anything to not work. I want our training to be applied in life in as soon as possible. So I am not going to, do an Ichimonji with new K strike and go, all right, guys, yell with me. Hiya! Not going to happen. What is the Ki power shout for anyway? To me, that's noise that tells your position. I understand your strategy. The strategy makes sense. In Ninjutsu, if you have to defend yourself, you've already lost. Right? So the idea, you've already lost that part. And so if you have to defend yourself, then your stealth ability wasn't enough and you had to rely upon a more physical response. Right? And if you yell and you're trying to infiltrate this place and you yell, then all of a sudden 2 or 3 more guys know what you're doing or what you're doing and where you are. Would it surprise you to know that there is such a thing as a silent ki? It's more advanced, but when you understand, when you accept more input, right? Yeah, there's parents do it all the time. Actually, parents do silent and auditory KIs all the time, and we'll get into that. This one might be actually kind of long. So in martial arts, the purpose of a ki is to attack more than just the body. Right? People, it's in the movies too, but there's real life examples of people who should have died. They were in whatever situation it was, but their will to live kept them going. With people next to them who were in the exact same situation who died because they lost the will to keep going. Okay? Everything is here. All of it. This is just what is being done. This stuff happens because this makes it happen. It all comes from up here and in here, if we want to be real about it. The electromagnetic field that the mind creates is smaller than the electromagnetic field that the heart creates. Do your own research on that one. All right. So parents do this all the time with the ki. You see yes, there's words said. Yes, there's tone within those words. But underlying all of it is the feeling that gets shot out when a mom sees something wrong in their daughter or son and they call them by name. Don't even have to use the middle one. John! Yes, ma'am. Those are ki. You ever get a feeling back of your neck as a kid? All of a sudden you turn around and you get one of the parents staring you down. That's a silent ki. People do it, they just don't know they're doing it. And it's an attack. It's a mental, spiritual, I mean, whatever kind of thing you want to call it. It's an attack, and it doesn't. It can affect the body of the person being attacked, but only because the receiving device accepted it. Because if you don't do or train yourself in ki, if you don't train yourself in ki skills, then anyone who does can affect you because you also haven't trained yourself in the defensive of it. But yeah, people do ki they're lesser ki. They're not really strong. They're strong. They're strong enough to get people's attention, things like that. But to be able to do that at will, that's a skill, right? So that's just like anything else. It's a skill, like all the other stuff. And in a fight situation, when you understand the tenths of seconds, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where your mind sped up. When your mind speeds up, the environment slows down, right? And so all of a sudden things happen slower because your mind is processing faster. It's leveled up for a moment, that faster speed, and all of a sudden you're dodging fists and not knowing how you got through it all, right? People that come back from Iraq, these warriors that have been beat, not beat from like beat into submission, but beat from the whole point of view of having gone through some real stuff. I'm trying to be good with my words here, but these battle-hardened warriors, they're the same no matter what time frame you're at, no matter what type of weapons are being used, whether it's an ancient katana or the most modern M4. It doesn't matter. You've gone through some stuff, all of a sudden, two very important skills emerge. The ability to know where danger is, and the ability to, at will, turn on slow-mo. Don't mess with veterans. That's all I gotta say. Don't mess with veterans. Now, talking about ki and silent ki and things like that, that doesn't say that I'm very good at it. I'm not. But one of the first steps at getting good at anything is recognizing it where most people wouldn't see it. So um, start recognizing. Here would be a good homework thing if you wanted any. Is start recognizing where the difference between a thought and a feeling in other people. One way to do that is to start recognizing thoughts and then going everything else is a feeling. Um, and to be able to verbalize those thoughts in yourself as well, because that's not a bad thing. Um, but when you can do that and you recognize that someone may be replying with, like if you're having a conversation, perhaps it's getting heated, right? You can tell someone's replying with emotion more than they are with any type of intellect. So you can tell that you're really not going to get anywhere with that conversation. The only way to do that is to put some water on the fire and go, you know what, you might be right. I don't know. Let's figure it out. Something like that. Then all of a sudden, the conversation changes, and maybe you can get to a better place. Maybe you can just say, well, we'll just come back to it later. Either way, prevention of escalation was the goal. But try to look at the difference between thoughts and emotions and understand that all kia come from emotions. They come from a more base self. If you're familiar with the three brain theory, so the reptilian brain was first, then the mammalian brain formed over that. Then we have the neocortex, which just means new covering, that is our human brain. So if you believe in that, then the further down the skill gets, the more natural, automatic, and reliable it can be. Right. So I call it the lizard brain, the dog brain, and the human brain. So if you want to change anything in your life, start talking to the dog brain. Dogs don't understand words. Affirmations are not going to work. Dogs don't understand words. They do understand something different, something new. So when you go into that hotel room, it's signaling to the dog brain that you need to focus and pay attention because this is a new environment. That's one of the reasons why that thing works. But if you get the skill where you can pull forward from the reptilian brain the emotion of stop or trip. Simple breakdown: thoughts come from the brain, feelings and emotions come from the heart. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. And building, the ki cup. That's where there's no such thing as a ki that doesn't come from the heart. Let's put that out there. There's no ki that comes solely from the brain. In fact, if the brain is involved, the ki is diminished. It has to be willpower, and I don't think willpower comes from up here. Like literal mental force. Mental force that translates into the physical world. Maybe that's another way to put it. Anyway, we're getting a little high up in there, and which I don't mind it, but we'll save that for perhaps another day. I do have a couple of other series that I'm looking at. I'm still adding more to the Nimpost series, which will be on a semi-regular basis. This is the only one that was supposed to be on a regular basis. And what I'm gonna, what you do is, if you're gonna truly give yourself a good debrief, I'm gonna go down. Once this is done, and on another day or so, I'm gonna look at the history of the analytics. When I was on time, what was happening in my life at that moment. When I was not on time, what was happening in my life at that moment. And then figuring out what I need to change to make sure that whenever I do another series, and it's time based, not all things are time based. The contest was the reason for the time um, consideration, because it was, the next and next. Um, but in post series, I still have spontaneous lives that I'll do from a regular basis. I kind of wanted to not do any spontaneous lives while I did this one, because this was a specific testing situation for myself as well. Um, you rearrange the room. Oh, look, an earthquake. Sorry. Anyway, we'll get this packaged up for you. I've got a couple of boxes that might actually fit all of that, actually, if I do it right. But I'll have to figure it out. I will look for, in fact, I can see if I can verify while you're here if I've gotten it. Let's find out. I got you, buddy. Let's see. Accounts. Huh? My face. That's the account stuff. Let's see. You have a couple good ideas going on with the other classes and things you're doing. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have an email from you talking about accounts. Oh. Talking about the Facebook is deleting. I got that. I need your mailing address. Yeah, I kind of saw that because I went into, I was going to talk to you, I was going to send you a Facebook message, but when I went to our conversation, it was like Facebook user, so I kind of knew something was going on. And you said talking about doing going to X. Yeah. The one before it. No, I don't have that. Let me check. Let me check the proverbial spam folder. Ah, I do have one. It says subject prize. So not spam. All right. Back up. There it is. Prize. I got you, buddy. I got you. Sedalia. That's the only thing I'm going to say for personal, protection prices purposes. Said, what was it? Sedalia. Sedalia. That makes sense. Let me know that you got my message. That I got your message. It was in spam. I got to check that spam folder to see if I got anything else. There's a couple things in there. Awesome. All right. It's good stuff. I will. That needs to be pinned. And I just need to go through spam. I've got 41 of them. I usually keep up with spam, so that anything like that happens, I can, like, it's a small number. I gotta search through. That one's actually getting pretty big. Anyway, zip it in nature. Spend time in nature. And if anyone has any questions, shoot me an email under the same email there, woodchuck@alwaystraining.com. or message me on whatever platform you've got. Even YouTube has a messaging platform. Well, it's like a posting thing, but you can actually message individual channels and people too. So if you got questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If you want to do some of training, so we've done some virtual training usually during the summertime, but uh, we we have training that I eventually want to get where it's a digital format that people come into class as it's a preparatory thing to for them to watch, and new students and whatnot to before they come into actual class. And so I need to get those set up too, and that to be free to anyone because they're going to be useful, universal information. It's important stuff for everybody to have. But it'll also be you can come in and take some classes. But anyway, I hope I have helped anyone today, and I hope that anyone watches this. This will help them in the future. I get to imprint a legacy onto for as long as YouTube is alive and lets me have these videos. These videos will stay up and help lots of people. So I'm kind of excited and I like that idea that benefit can last. I like the idea that benefit can last. All right, guys. Just remember, whatever you do, make sure you get lost. Just get lost, but never lose your way.